A casual hoodie, a luxury showroom, and a lesson in judgment. What happens when a car dealership manager underestimates the man who secretly owns it all? Darrell Carter pulled into the parking lot of Prestige Motors, the flagship dealership he had recently acquired in the upscale enclave of Scottsdale, Arizona. The desert sun blazed overhead, casting a golden glow on the rows of luxury vehicles that gleamed like jewels in the afternoon light. The sight of the sleek high-end cars, ranging from sporty coupes to opulent SUVs, was a testament to the dealership's reputation as a haven for the wealthy and discerning. Darrell parked his modest SUV in an unmarked spot at the back of the lot, far from the pristine vehicles on display. He stepped out, taking a moment to survey the dealership's sleek, modern facade. Dressed in a simple gray hoodie, worn jeans and sneakers, Darrell looked nothing like the owner of a high-end car dealership. His casual attire was deliberate. He wanted to see how the business operated when no one knew the boss was watching. He had always believed that the true character of an organization revealed itself when no one was putting on a show. Today, he was here to observe, to understand, and, if necessary, to make changes. As he approached the entrance, he noticed a group of employees chatting near the front desk. Their laughter and casual banter carried through the glass doors, a sound that suggested camaraderie, but also, perhaps, a lack of focus. Darrell pushed the door open and stepped inside. The showroom was a stark contrast to the heat outside, cool, crisp, and filled with the faint scent of leather and polish. Rows of pristine cars sparkled under the bright lights, their glossy finishes reflecting the elegance of the space. The chatter quieted as he entered, and Darrell caught the subtle glances exchanged between the employees. Their eyes flicked to his hoodie and sneakers, and he felt the shift in energy, a silent judgment that spoke volumes. Then, from across the room, she appeared. Susan. Susan was a middle-aged woman with sharp features and an even sharper demeanor. Her tailored blazer and polished heels exuded authority, and the clipboard tucked under her arm suggested efficiency. She approached with purpose, her heels clicking against the polished floor. Her smile was polite but strained, and her tone was cool as she spoke. "Can I help you with something?" she asked, her voice clipped. Darrell smiled casually, his hands tucked into the pockets of his hoodie. "Just here to look around," he said, gesturing toward the cars. Susan's eyes narrowed as she scanned him from head to toe. Her polite mask slipped slightly, revealing a hint of skepticism. "Are you shopping for a car?" she asked, her tone carrying an edge of doubt. Darrell nodded. "Something like that." Susan's lips pursed. "We cater to a very specific clientele here," she said, her voice tinged with condescension. "Most of our inventory requires pre-qualification. Perhaps I could recommend—" Before she could finish, another employee called out, "Susan, the delivery guy is here." Her attention wavered for a moment, but her gaze snapped back to Darrell as though ensuring he wouldn't wander too far. Darrell raised an eyebrow. "You're assuming I'm not qualified?" The question caught her off guard, but she recovered quickly. "I'm just trying to save you some time," she replied with a forced smile. "These vehicles start at 6 figures. Maybe I can direct you to—" Darrell's expression remained calm, but internally, he noted her assumptions. His fingers brushed the door handle of a sleek silver coupe, its aggressive design and flawless finish catching his eye. "Nice car," he said simply. Susan's brows furrowed. "It is," she replied, her tone tight. "Perhaps when you're ready to make a serious inquiry, we can set up an appointment. For now, I'll have to ask you not to touch the vehicles." Darrell stepped back, hands in his pockets. "All right. What would you recommend for someone like me?" Susan hesitated, then handed him a printout of pre-owned vehicles. These are more accessible models, she said, her voice dripping with thinly veiled condescension. Reliable, economical, and practical. Darrell glanced at the list. A used sedan, an older SUV, a compact hybrid. He folded the paper and tucked it into his pocket. Appreciate the effort, he said, his tone even. Susan's patience was wearing thin. Listen, she said, her voice dropping as if she were sharing a secret. I'm just being realistic. Prestige Motors isn't for everyone. I don't want to waste your time. Darrell met her gaze, his expression unreadable. And what makes you think I'm not your target customer? Susan hesitated, then said, I've been doing this a long time. I can tell when someone's out of their depth. Darrell chuckled softly. Out of their depth. Interesting. Susan's confidence faltered, but she pressed on. I'm just being honest. It's better to be upfront than to have someone leave disappointed. Darrell nodded. Honesty is good. How about this? Let me speak to the owner. Susan blinked. The owner? That's not possible today. They're a busy person. Darrell smiled faintly. I'm sure they are. But maybe you could give them a call. Let them know I'm here. Susan's smile tightened. Sir, I'm trying to be polite, but this is getting ridiculous. If you're serious about buying a car, we can schedule a meeting. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to leave. Darrell reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. All right, I'll make the call myself. Susan stared as he dialed. What are you doing? Calling the owner, Darrell replied, lifting the phone to his ear. Shouldn't take long. Susan's confidence wavered as Darrell spoke into the phone. Yeah, it's me. I'm at the dealership. Everything's fine. Just a little misunderstanding. Could you let them know I'm here? He ended the call and slipped the phone back into his pocket. They'll be here shortly, he said simply. Susan's face paled. Who did you just call? Darrell didn't answer. Instead, he glanced around the showroom, his calm demeanor only heightening the tension. Minutes later, the main doors opened, and a sharply dressed man in a navy suit entered. His eyes immediately found Darrell. Mr. Carter, the man said with a wide smile, extending his hand. So good to see you. Darrell shook his hand firmly. Thanks for coming, Alex. Susan's clipboard nearly slipped from her hands. Wait, Mr. Carter? Alex turned to her, his tone sharp. Susan, I see you've already met Mr. Carter, the new owner of this dealership. Susan's face turned ashen. I didn't realize. Darrell raised a hand, stopping her. It's all right, Susan. We just got off on the wrong foot. He turned to Alex. Let's gather everyone in the conference room. I think it's time we had a little chat about how things are run around here. The employees filed into the conference room, the air thick with tension. Darrell stood at the head of the table, his presence commanding attention. Thank you all for joining me, he began. For those who don't know, I'm Darrell Carter, the new owner of Prestige Motors. I came here today dressed casually to see how this dealership operates when no one knows who I am. What I experienced was disappointing. He paused, letting his words sink in. I was judged not for what I could bring to the table, but for how I looked. This isn't just about me. It's about every customer who walks through those doors. Moving forward, we'll be implementing new training programs to ensure this dealership represents the values I believe in: respect, inclusivity, and fairness. Susan sat quietly, her face flushed. Darrell's gaze settled on her. Susan, he said gently, I want to give you the opportunity to speak. She hesitated, then said, I made a mistake. I misjudged you, and for that, I'm truly sorry. Darrell nodded. Thank you for saying that. Change starts with accountability. He turned back to the group. This dealership has a reputation for excellence, but excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. It's about the experience we provide. And from now on, That experience will be built on respect, no exceptions. The room was silent, but the message was clear. Darrell had made his point, and change was coming.